Great white sharks are widely regarded as apex predators, dominating their environments as they hunt seals, fish, and other marine life. The notion that such an animal could itself become prey seemed almost unthinkable. The incident sparked an investigation, revealing a far more complex and unforgiving. The investigation centered on a female great white shark, known to researchers as Shark Alpha. In late 2003, marine biologists operating off the coast of Western Australia successfully fitted this young shark with an electronic tracking tag. Measuring roughly 9 feet in length, she fell within the juvenile to young adult range and showed every indication of being a strong, healthy predator at the time of tagging. The device attached to Shark Alpha was advanced technology designed for long-term marine research. It continuously recorded depth, water temperature, and movement patterns, remaining attached for a preset period before automatically detaching, floating to the surface, and transmitting its stored data via satellite. This type of pop-up archival tag had been widely used in previous studies and was considered highly reliable for monitoring shark behavior and migration. For the first 4 months, the data appeared entirely normal. Roughly 4 months after deployment, the tracking tag surfaced and was later recovered on a beach. When scientists downloaded the data, they immediately recognized that the final recordings documented an extraordinary event. The first anomaly appeared in the temperature readings. Although great white sharks typically inhabit waters between 53 and 75 degrees Fahrenheit, Shark Alpha had been swimming in water averaging around 46 degrees Fahrenheit, which was normal for her environment. Suddenly, the temperature spiked dramatically, rising by more than 17 degrees in a very short period, beyond 77 degrees Fahrenheit. Such a rapid temperature change could not occur naturally in open ocean conditions, where shifts are gradual. The most plausible explanation was that the tag, still attached to the shark, had been drawn inside a warm-blooded animal and was recording internal body heat rather than seawater. Immediately after the temperature spike, the tag recorded a rapid, sustained descent into deep water, plunging nearly 2,000 feet below the surface. This movement was far too fast to represent a detached tag sinking passively. Instead, it indicated powerful motion consistent with a large predator swimming downward. When researchers reconstructed the sequence, they reached a disturbing conclusion: an apex predator had been attacked by an even more formidable creature. The data offered rare insight into predator interactions rarely observed, and forced scientists to confront a stark reality of the marine food web. Even the ocean's most feared hunters could become prey, raising a profound question that remained unanswered: what kind of creature possessed the power to hunt a great white shark? The disappearance of Shark Alpha represented far more than an unusual data anomaly. It directly challenged long-standing assumptions about marine ecosystems and predator hierarchies. As news of the incident spread beyond scientific circles, public reaction was swift and intense. Theories ranged from scientifically grounded explanations to highly imaginative ideas, each attracting its own supporters and critics. Early speculation often focused on the possibility of unknown deep-sea creatures. Some proposed that massive predators, yet to be discovered, might inhabit the depths and occasionally venture upward to hunt. Others suggested that prehistoric species thought to be extinct could have survived in isolated regions of the largely unexplored deep ocean. While such ideas captured public interest, they lacked any supporting evidence beyond the single event involving Shark Alpha. The scientific team, however, remained committed to evidence-based analysis. Rather than pursuing speculation, researchers began evaluating every biologically plausible explanation. One of the first considerations was predation by another great white shark. Although uncommon, cannibalism among sharks is a documented phenomenon. Larger individuals are known to prey on smaller members of their own species, particularly during territorial conflicts or periods of limited food availability. Historical records and prior studies had documented instances of great white sharks bearing bite marks that could only have come from other great whites. The size and spacing of these marks suggested attacks by exceptionally large individuals, sometimes exceeding 20 feet in length. Such predators, while rare, were known to exist and represented the upper extremes of the species. Data from Shark Alpha's tracking tag appeared to support this possibility. The recorded temperature spike was consistent with the internal body temperature of a large shark rather than a marine mammal. The depth and movement patterns following the event closely matched known great white behavior after feeding, and the length of time the tag remained inside the predator aligned with documented digestion rates. To overpower and consume a 9-foot shark, The attacker would have needed to measure an estimated 16 to 20 feet in length and weigh several thousand pounds. Sharks of this size, though uncommon, had been documented in Australian waters and were known to be capable of such predation. The mystery gained international attention through a documentary titled The Hunt for the Super Predator, which followed the investigation and presented competing theories to a global audience. The film transformed a scientific inquiry into a cultural phenomenon, sparking widespread debate. Another prominent theory involved killer whales, or orcas, which are known to prey on sharks. Orcas hunt cooperatively and possess advanced intelligence, allowing them to execute complex strategies. Documented cases from South Africa had shown orcas attacked great whites by inducing tonic immobility and extracting their nutrient-rich livers with remarkable precision. Despite this evidence, key details conflicted with the orca hypothesis. The temperature recorded by Shark Alpha's tag was far lower than an orca's internal body temperature, and the prolonged deep-water movement did not match the diving patterns of air-breathing mammals. Furthermore, orcas typically consume specific organs rather than entire sharks, which contradicts the data suggesting extensive consumption. Other theories, including involvement by giant squid, were also considered. However, these were quickly dismissed, as cold-blooded animals could not account for the temperature spike recorded by the tag. Through systematic analysis and elimination, researchers narrowed the list of plausible explanations. What remained was an answer rooted in evidence rather than speculation, even if it challenged traditional views of marine predator dynamics. What do you think? Can you guess who the culprit is? Let's discuss in the comments, and don't forget to discover more interesting things in the bottom right corner of the screen. Another explanation has garnered more public attention than any other: the hypothesis that Megalodon, the giant prehistoric shark, may still exist at the bottom of the ocean. The appeal of the Megalodon theory was easy to understand. A healthy great white had apparently been consumed in a single, overwhelming event, implying a predator of exceptional size and strength. To many observers, this seemed beyond the capabilities of any known modern animal. Megalodon, the largest shark known to have ever lived, appeared to fit that role perfectly. Carcharocles megalodon was a real species, supported by a robust fossil record found across the globe. These sharks emerged around 23 million years ago and went extinct approximately 3.6 million years ago. Conservative scientific estimates place adult megalodon lengths at 50 to 60 feet, with jaws wide enough to swallow large prey whole, and teeth reaching up to 7 inches long. Fossilized whale bones bearing massive bite marks confirm that Megalodon preyed on large marine mammals, and biomechanical studies suggest it possessed one of the strongest bite forces ever recorded. From a purely physical perspective, a surviving Megalodon could easily kill and consume a modern great white shark. Supporters of the theory argued that much of the ocean remains unexplored and cited examples like the coelacanth, once believed extinct, to suggest Megalodon might still survive in deep, isolated regions. However, scientific scrutiny quickly revealed major flaws in this explanation. No physical evidence of living megalodons exists, no modern teeth sightings, sonar detections, or acoustic recordings, despite extensive global ocean monitoring. Whale populations, which would be essential prey for such a predator, show no signs of attacks consistent with a shark of megalodon size. Ecologically, sustaining even a small population of megalodons would require enormous amounts of food, producing obvious and measurable impacts on marine ecosystems that are not observed. The fossil record also strongly contradicts survival claims. Megalodon remains disappear entirely after 3.6 million years ago, coinciding with major environmental changes that likely drove the species to extinction. Most decisively, the tracking tag data from Shark Alpha ruled out the Megalodon. The recorded internal temperature of about 77 degrees Fahrenheit was inconsistent with the thermal profile expected from a massive, highly active predator of Megalodon's scale, but matched that of a large modern great white shark. Depth and movement patterns likewise aligned with contemporary shark behavior, rather than that of an enormous prehistoric animal. Geography further weakened the theory. The waters off Western Australia are well trafficked and studied, making the undetected presence of a 50-foot shark exceedingly unlikely. As researchers dismantled the Megalodon explanation, it became clear that its popularity stemmed more from psychological appeal than scientific plausibility. Eliminating the suspects. As the investigation advanced, researchers narrowed their focus to the explanations most consistent with the available evidence. Each potential predator had to meet a strict set of criteria defined by the tracking data, and any theory that failed to align with those parameters was systematically discarded. Although the orca hypothesis initially appeared compelling, growing inconsistencies began to undermine it. In 2017, several great white carcasses washed ashore in the Western Cape, each bearing nearly identical injuries. The bodies were largely intact, yet their livers had been removed with extraordinary precision, a pattern that led scientists to identify two orcas, known as port and starboard, as the likely predators. The ecological impact of such attacks was well documented. In regions where orcas appeared, great white sharks exhibited immediate and dramatic flight responses. Entire populations abandoned established hunting grounds for months, a behavior observed not only in South Africa, but also in areas such as Monterey Bay in California. Temperature readings further weakened the orca theory. As fully warm-blooded mammals, orcas maintain internal temperatures between 96 and 100 degrees Fahrenheit. Movement patterns added another contradiction. The tag showed sustained deep-water activity without regular surfacing intervals, behavior impossible for air-breathing mammals, but entirely normal for sharks. The geographic and ecological context also raised doubts. The region off Western Australia lacked documented patterns of orca-driven shark displacement, and no unusual behavior was observed among other sharks in the area. The incident appeared isolated rather than indicative of broader ecosystem disruption, which typically accompanies orca predation events. Moreover, orcas hunt cooperatively, and a solitary, prolonged predation event conflicted with their known social hunting strategies. As these inconsistencies accumulated, researchers revisited shark-on-shark predation as the most plausible explanation. Evidence of this thing had been established through bite mark analysis and necropsies, revealing smaller sharks inside the stomachs of larger individuals. The tracking data aligned precisely with this explanation. The temperature spike matched the digestive environment of a large regionally endothermic shark, while the descent and sustained movement reflected typical post-feeding behavior. The duration before the tag was expelled also corresponded with known digestion timelines for sharks of that size. When all evidence was weighed together, a single conclusion emerged with increasing clarity. Shark alpha had been killed and consumed by another, much larger great white shark. The task of conclusively explaining Shark Alpha's disappearance fell to scientists at the Commonwealth Scientific and Industrial Research Organisation, Australia's national research agency, and one of the most respected scientific institutions in the Southern Hemisphere. With extensive expertise in marine biology, oceanography, and ecological research, CSIRO was uniquely positioned to investigate the incident. When the recovered tracking tag revealed its anomalous data, the CSIRO researchers immediately recognized that the event warranted a full forensic investigation. Determining what had happened required a systematic, evidence-driven approach. To meet this challenge, CSIRO assembled a multidisciplinary research team. Marine ecologists contributed expertise in predator-prey dynamics and ecosystem interactions. Tagging specialists focused on interpreting the electronic data streams. Oceanographers provided detailed context regarding local water temperatures, depth profiles, and current systems. Physiologists analyzed metabolic rates, digestion processes, and internal body temperatures across potential predators. This collaborative structure allowed the evidence to be evaluated from multiple scientific angles. Public and media interest intensified as news of the case spread, often accompanied by speculation and criticism. While some dismissed the investigation as futile, others insisted on explanations involving exotic or prehistoric creatures. Despite these distractions, the CSIRO team remained committed to rigorous analysis, treating the tracking tag and its data as forensic evidence, rather than fodder for conjecture. The investigation began with an exhaustive review of the tag itself and every data point it recorded. Researchers reconstructed precise timelines, examining transitions between normal and anomalous readings to identify critical moments. The physical condition of the recovered device was also scrutinized. Signs of corrosion and abrasion were analyzed microscopically, revealing patterns consistent with chemical exposure and mechanical stress rather than random environmental damage. To place the findings in context, the team compared Shark Alpha's data with records from hundreds of other tagged sharks and examined oceanographic data from the region. They also consulted databases of predator sightings and behaviors, searching for correlations in time and location. International collaboration further strengthened the analysis, with experts from regions such as South Africa and California reviewing the evidence and offering independent assessments. Computer simulations tested whether different predation scenarios could reproduce the observed temperature and movement patterns. Laboratory experiments exposed similar tags to controlled chemical environments that mimic digestive fluids from various predators, providing baseline comparisons for the recovered device. Central to the investigation was the interpretation of the thermal data. Great white sharks possess specialized circulatory structures that allow parts of their bodies, including the stomach, to remain significantly warmer than surrounding water, though still far cooler than the core temperatures of marine mammals. Movement data reinforced this conclusion. The tag's rapid descent to nearly 2,000 feet and sustained deep water activity matched the swimming behavior of large sharks, which can remain submerged for extended periods without surfacing. The rhythmic depth changes were consistent with active swimming rather than passive sinking or mammalian dive patterns. Chemical analysis added further confirmation. Residue on the tag revealed exposure to acidic conditions and enzymes characteristic of shark stomachs, producing a chemical profile distinct from that of mammalian digestion. Finally, the duration the tag remained inside the predator, approximately 4 to 6 days, matched known digestion timelines for large sharks processing substantial prey. These lines of evidence converged on a single, scientifically robust explanation. Shark alpha had been consumed by a much larger great white shark, a conclusion supported by physiological, chemical, and behavioral data rather than speculation. Based on all available data, the research team estimated that the predator must have measured between 16 and 20 feet in length, with a body weight potentially exceeding 4,000 pounds. A shark of this size would possess the jaw strength necessary to attack a 9-foot shark, the body mass to overpower such prey, and the stomach capacity to consume it. Great white sharks of this size, while uncommon, are known to exist in Australian waters and represent mature adults at the upper end of the species' size range. The discovery sent shockwaves through both the scientific community and the general public. For years, great white sharks had been portrayed as the ocean's ultimate apex predators, sitting unchallenged at the top of the marine food chain. Popular culture had reinforced this image through countless documentaries, films, and media representations. The great white was the monster that other creatures feared, the perfect predator that nothing could threaten. For the CSIRO research team, solving this mystery represented more than just closing an unusual case. It demonstrated the power of careful scientific methodology, systematic analysis, and evidence-based reasoning. In an era where sensational theories and speculation often dominate public discourse, the team had shown that patient, rigorous investigation could reveal truth even in the most puzzling circumstances. They had resisted the temptation to embrace exotic explanations and instead followed the evidence wherever it led. This reality extends beyond sharks to the entire marine ecosystem. Every creature, from the smallest fish to the largest whale, exists within networks of predation and competition. The food chain is not a ladder with secure positions, but a web of relationships constantly shifting based on circumstances, location, and individual characteristics. What appears to be an apex predator in one context may be vulnerable prey in another. The mystery has been solved. This is the reality of marine life, beautiful, terrible, and utterly unforgiving. If you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss our upcoming journeys. Thank you for watching, and see you again. Zoos are a blast until the real wild cards show up. Not the animals, but the people who tempt fate by swimming with polar bears or shaking hands with lions. Here are the dumbest people at the zoo, and what happened next will leave you speechless. Let's start. Zoos install safety barriers and post warnings to prevent visitors from getting too close to wild animals. But incidents still occur. One such case happened at the Berlin Zoo in 2009, when a woman entered the polar bear enclosure during a public feeding session. 6 keepers were preparing to feed the bears when the 32-year-old climbed over a fence, crossed hedges, and scaled a wall before entering the water. She swam toward the bears but quickly found herself in a dangerous situation. One of the bears made physical contact with her, causing injuries before keepers were able to intervene and lower a rope to pull her out. During the rescue, she briefly slipped back into the water, but the staff acted quickly and lifted her to safety. She later spent several weeks in the hospital recovering. Authorities never confirmed her motivation, but the incident led to renewed discussions about zoo safety and personal responsibility. Brazil contains some of the world's richest biodiversity, and its people are well aware of the dangers posed by wild animals. Yet in 2011, alcohol led one man to ignore that reality. João Leite dos Santos, a mechanic from São Paulo, admitted he had been drinking all day before visiting Sorocaba Zoo, and claimed he could not remember what followed. Video footage shows him climbing a fence, jumping into a pool, and swimming toward spider monkeys inside their enclosure. Though they may appear harmless, spider monkeys are highly territorial. As he approached, the group gathered at the water's edge and reached toward him. When he moved within reach, one monkey latched onto his wrist, while another grabbed at his shoulder and arm. The animals reacted defensively after he crossed into their space. Realizing his mistake, Dos Santos retreated to the fence, where zookeepers pulled him to safety and provided medical attention. He was later taken to the hospital for treatment, and police prepared charges for reckless behavior. Do you think alcohol is an excuse for behavior like this? Or should he be fully responsible no matter what? Comment and chat with me. In 2016, guests at Nehru Zoo Park in Hyderabad, India, were alarmed when a man climbed down into the lion enclosure, entering water roughly 12 feet below the viewing platform. Onlookers urged him to remain still until park rangers could assist, but he ignored them and continued moving toward the lions. Singing to himself, he attempted to approach the animals. Fortunately, the lions showed little interest. Zoo workers eventually lowered a pole, pulled him to safety, and handed him over to police, who charged him under the Wildlife Protection Act. The incident occurred during the lions' scheduled feeding time, and when keepers called them, the animals responded as trained. Officials later noted that the situation could have been far more dangerous under different circumstances. The man avoided serious harm largely because the animals were focused elsewhere, and the staff responded quickly. In 2018, a man from British Columbia visited Ripley's Aquarium in Toronto and unexpectedly entered one of the large display tanks without clothing. The tank was the venue's main attraction and contained several sharks. Concerned guests watched as he moved through the water, with the animals swimming nearby, and security personnel responded quickly. Although staff instructed him to exit, he briefly jumped back into the tank before eventually leaving the area. The aquarium later stated that its policy does not involve detaining individuals who are voluntarily exiting the premises. However, police later located the man and connected him to a separate incident reported earlier that evening. Penguins are often seen as charming and adaptable, but their cheerful appearance in zoos can be misleading. Though popular with visitors, they are wild animals that belong in the ocean, not in homes. In 2012, after a night of heavy drinking, 2 Welsh tourists in Australia made a reckless decision that proved this point. While traveling through Queensland's Gold Coast, they unlawfully entered SeaWorld with a local acquaintance after a beach party. Inside the park, they swam in a dolphin pool, set off a fire extinguisher near a shark tank, and then entered the penguin enclosure. There they removed a 7-year-old fairy penguin named Dirk and brought him back to their apartment. According to later court statements, the men claimed they had no memory of taking the bird. They attempted to care for it by feeding it and keeping it wet in the shower, but soon realized they were unprepared to handle a wild animal. They then tried to release the penguin into a nearby canal. Residents, aware of the aquarium incident, contacted police. Officers detained the men and returned the penguins safely to SeaWorld. The pair were later charged with trespassing and theft and fined $1,000 Australian dollars each, roughly $720 United States dollars. In 2016, a visitor at the Toronto Zoo faced a dilemma when a gust of wind blew her hat beyond a safety fence. Rather than leaving it, she climbed over the barrier to retrieve it, unknowingly entering the outer area of the tiger enclosure. Although a secondary fence still separated her from the animals, she was dangerously close. One of the tigers moved quickly in her direction, creating a tense moment that could have resulted in serious consequences. She managed to grab her hat and climb back over the fence as onlookers shouted in alarm. Zoo officials only became aware of the incident after videos surfaced online later that day. They launched an investigation to identify the woman, with the possibility of banning her from the zoo and pursuing legal action for violating safety rules. In 2004, a visitor at Taipei Zoo in Taiwan climbed over a barrier and entered the lion enclosure. Witnesses reported that he began shouting religious phrases toward the animals. At first, the lion and lioness showed little interest, but as he continued approaching them, the situation escalated. The lion eventually made physical contact with the man, causing injuries to his arm and damaging his clothing. Zookeepers responded quickly, using water hoses and tranquilizer darts to separate the animals and bring the situation under control. The man was removed from the enclosure and received medical treatment. Despite the seriousness of the incident, he sustained relatively minor injuries. Zoo staff later noted that the animals had recently been fed, which may have reduced their level of interest. Reports suggested the man may have been experiencing a mental health episode at the time. Bears are powerful wild animals and are typically much larger than humans. Panda bears, however, are smaller and often appear calm, which can lead some people to assume they are safe to approach. That assumption proved incorrect for a visitor to Nanchang Zoo in Jiangxi Province, China. In 2016, the man, identified as Chen, saw a panda named Mealing resting in its enclosure and lowered himself into the exhibit for a closer look. After trying to get the animal's attention, he moved closer and attempted to touch it, causing the panda to wake up. The panda reacted defensively and engaged physically with the man. He quickly realized the animal's strength and managed to break away and exit the enclosure. After a medical examination, he was found to be unharmed. Police later stated that he had been visiting the zoo with 2 female companions and appeared to be trying to impress them. One of the most well-known incidents occurred in August of 1986 at the Durrell Wildlife Park on the island of Jersey. 5-year-old Lavon Merritt had been climbing on a wall above the gorilla enclosure while his parents were briefly distracted. He slipped and fell onto the concrete floor below, losing consciousness. Onlookers watched anxiously as Jumbo the gorilla approached the boy. Rather than behaving aggressively, he stood near the child and appeared to shield him from other gorillas. Although he had never encountered a human child in this way, he remained calm and at one point gently touched the boy's back. When Merritt regained consciousness and cried out, the gorillas moved away, allowing a paramedic and zookeepers to enter and assist him. After the incident, the zoo upgraded its safety barriers to prevent a similar situation in the future. The event highlighted the importance of strong enclosure design and visitor awareness around large wild animals. Drive-through safari parks are popular attractions around the world. Visitors are typically warned to remain inside their vehicles at all times, even if animals approach the car. In 2018, a French family visiting Beeksbergen Safari Park near Tilburg in the Netherlands ignored this guidance. Video footage shows them and their children stepping out of their vehicle to get a closer look at several cheetahs. The animals quickly became alert and began moving around the family, creating a tense situation. Realizing the risk, the family hurried back to their car before the situation escalated further. Park officials later stated that the visitors were extremely fortunate and reminded the public that safety instructions are clearly posted in multiple languages. Despite repeated warnings, a small number of guests each year continue to take similar risks. Despite the efforts of zookeepers and park owners, some people argue that artificial enclosures can never fully replicate life in the wild. Animals may spend long periods resting, and problems can arise when visitors attempt to provoke a reaction. In footage recorded at the lion enclosure at Amsterdam Zoo, a group of visitors began throwing snowballs toward the animals while they were resting. The disturbance caused the lions to stand and adopt a defensive stance, likely reacting to both the commotion and the unfamiliar sensation of snow being thrown at them. With no way to move away from the situation, the lions grouped until the disruption stopped. The incident serves as a reminder that respectful behavior is essential when observing wildlife in any setting. With the rise of social media and smartphone cameras, taking selfies has become common, though the search for the perfect photo can sometimes lead to risky decisions. In March of 2019, a visitor at the Wildlife World Zoo in Arizona climbed over a protective barrier to take a photo with a jaguar in the background. Although a fence still separated her from the animal, she assumed it would keep her safe. When she turned her back, the jaguar reached a paw through a gap in the fence and injured her arm. Bystanders distracted the animal, allowing her to pull away. She was taken to the hospital for treatment and later recovered. Zoo officials emphasize that barriers are in place for visitor safety and cannot prevent incidents if people choose to cross them. Pandas are often seen resting for long periods in zoos, which can disappoint some visitors who expect more activity. In footage recorded at Beijing Zoo in 2019, 2 guests attempted to get a panda's attention by throwing small objects toward it. According to the person filming, one individual tossed smaller items while another, off-camera, threw larger pieces for an extended period. Fortunately, the panda did not appear to be harmed and continued its normal routine. However, zoo officials later emphasized that such behavior is dangerous and unacceptable. Although those responsible were not identified, similar actions can result in serious legal consequences under animal protection laws. Since ancient times, people have left their names on monuments and structures. But in 2019, an incident at La Palmyre Zoo in southwestern France involved inappropriate behavior toward a living animal. Zoo officials noticed markings on the back of a rhinoceros and discovered that the names Camille and Julien had been traced into the dirt and loose outer layer of the animal's skin. The exhibit allows visitors to approach the animals with only a low barrier between them, but direct interference of this kind is strictly prohibited. In a statement, the zoo expressed strong disapproval of the visitors' actions and confirmed that, while legal action would not be pursued, the individuals would not be allowed to return. The markings were easily removed with a brush, and the staff indicated that the rhinoceros was not harmed. Peacocks are known for their striking feathers, which many people admire. Typically, collected feathers are those that have fallen naturally. In 2018, however, a group of tourists visiting Shuyuar Zoo in Jiangsu, China, entered a peacock enclosure and forcibly removed feathers from several birds. By the time staff intervened, the birds had lost a significant number of feathers and sustained visible injuries. Fortunately, none of the peacocks died. They were moved to a quarantine area for treatment and later began recovering. A zoo manager stated that similar incidents had occurred before and noted that limited staffing made it difficult to monitor visitor behavior at all times. At the time, the enclosure housed 41 peacocks and had 3 staff members assigned to oversee their care. Ever since audiences saw King Kong beating his chest atop the Empire State Building, the gesture has become widely recognized. However, imitating that behavior in front of a real gorilla is not advisable, as the gesture can be interpreted as a challenge. At the Henry Dorley Zoo and Aquarium in Omaha, a young girl once beat her chest while standing near 2 male gorillas. The animals reacted by becoming alert and approaching the viewing area, which startled her and caused her to step back quickly. The moment served as a reminder that certain gestures can be misunderstood by wild animals, and that visitors should always follow zoo guidelines when observing them. At West Midlands Safari and Leisure Park in Worcestershire, England, a couple on a drive-through safari experienced a startling encounter. A giraffe poked its head through their car window and then smashed the windscreen. According to a report by Newsweek, the giraffe, drawn by food offered by the visitors, thrust its horns against the glass, cracking it. The park's own signage warns that do not allow animals to put their head inside your vehicle, keep your windows half shut or shut completely, and clarifies that damage to vehicles by animals is not the responsibility of the park. In the incident, although no person was hurt, the vehicle's window was severely damaged, and the unexpected nature of the giraffe's action left many surprised about how quickly a benign-looking safari moment could go wrong. In early 2024, a group of German tourists at Kruger National Park, South Africa's largest wildlife reserve, were delighted to see a herd of elephants crossing the road. The calm moment quickly changed when 2 bull elephants, separated from the group, began acting aggressively toward each other. The tourists expected a fight between the bulls, but one suddenly turned its attention to their car and charged. Within seconds, the 6-ton animal reached the vehicle and struck the rear window with its tusk. The glass shattered, but no one was injured. Though shaken, the group later joked about losing their rental deposit, grateful to have escaped unharmed. Would you have stayed to watch the elephants that close, knowing one could suddenly charge your car? Let's discuss in the comments section. What started as a relaxing day at the park took a sudden turn when a mother and her young child came across a camel. At first, the moment seemed harmless and even funny, as the camel gently licked the child's head, making the toddler laugh. The mother joined in, thinking it was a sweet and innocent interaction between her child and the animal. But the situation quickly shifted when the camel turned its attention to the mother. Without any warning, it lunged forward and bit her. The woman's laughter instantly changed to a cry of pain and shock as she pulled away. Camels are often seen as gentle animals, but they can act unpredictably and sometimes aggressively. With their powerful jaws and large teeth, they can cause real injuries if they feel threatened or irritated. In this case, the camel may have misread the situation or simply become upset, but the attack showed just how unpredictable animals can be. Fortunately, the woman was not seriously hurt, though the experience left her and those nearby shaken, reminding everyone to stay cautious around even calm-looking creatures. In August 2025, tourists on safari in Kenya's Masai Mara National Reserve witnessed a shocking moment when a Cape buffalo suddenly charged and rammed into a safari vehicle. The animal appeared agitated after being surrounded by several vehicles that had stopped too close while tourists were taking photos. The animal charged and attacked one of the cars when it found itself boxed in by both vehicles and possibly lions nearby. The impact startled everyone inside, though no injuries were reported. Rangers later explained that buffalo are known for their unpredictable temper and powerful build, and when they feel cornered or stressed, especially near predators, they can become extremely aggressive. The incident served as a reminder that even herbivores, often viewed as harmless compared to lions or elephants, can be dangerous if humans get too close or block their escape routes. In early September 2025, at the camping site at Cape Vidal campsite within the Isamangaliso Wetland Park, a 27-year-old man named Nicholas Halls was asleep in his tent after a social gathering when two hyenas forcibly entered his tent through a small gap left at the top. He was attacked. One hyena grabbed his leg and tried to pull him out, and the other attacked his face and head. Though he survived the ordeal, he sustained severe injuries. The campsite management and wildlife authorities acknowledged the incident and launched measures to capture and relocate the suspected hyenas that had become habituated to the campgrounds. Have you ever been to the zoo? And what's your favorite animal? Let us know in the comments. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more videos from us, click on one on the screen, or check out our channel. Thanks for watching, and see you next time. Fish top the charts as beloved pets and thrilling catches worldwide. Today we're diving into the largest fish ever reeled in. Monsters so massive some records seem unbreakable. Let's start. The Taliana is a large sea fish from the grouper family, mainly found in shallow tropical waters around coral reefs at depths of 5 to 55 meters. It can grow up to 2.5 meters long and weigh as much as 360 kilograms, with an average weight of about 180 kilograms. The largest recorded specimen was documented in 1961 near Fernandina Beach, Florida, weighing 308 kilograms. More recently, former NFL player Sam Barrington encountered a very large Italiana while fishing with the YouTube channel Black Tip Hife, known for showcasing large marine species. The fish was estimated to be over 70 years old and to weigh between 295 and 318 kilograms. Because the species is listed as endangered, the fish was safely released. Notably, these groupers are born female and later change to male as they grow larger. The bluefin tuna is one of the largest and best-known tuna species, and occurs in the northern and southern parts of the Atlantic. Over the years, this fish has been highly valued as a food source. Furthermore, they are considered top performers due to their size, strength, and speed. They can swim up to 500 meters deep and reach speeds of up to 65 kilometers per hour. In 1979, an angler named Ken Fraser caught a giant bluefin tuna in the community of Ald's Cove in the Canadian province of Nova Scotia. It took him almost 10 hours, and after he pulled it ashore, the fish weighed an incredible 6,178 kilograms. This made him very famous, and he even decided to write a book about his experiences, which was sold in over 38 countries. 41 years later, his record still stands, and will probably continue to do so, as this fish is slowly dying out due to overfishing. If you had caught a record-breaking bluefin tuna, would you keep it for fame, or release it to protect the species? Comment and chat with me. Freshwater carp belong to a very large group of fish, mainly found in Europe, Asia, and parts of South Africa. Siamese carp typically weigh between 2 and 25 kilograms, and are between 40 and 120 centimeters long. However, specimens 2 meters long, with a weight between 57 and 60 kilograms, have also been caught. Some sources even speak of 3-meter giants weighing around 300 kilograms. In 2016, a man from London caught a carp weighing 105 kilograms in a river in Thailand. It took him more than 90 minutes to land the fish. In 2007, an even larger carp was reportedly caught, a Siamese carp weighing about 125 kilograms. These fish were released because they are highly endangered due to habitat loss and overfishing. The great white shark, Carcharodon carcharias, is the largest predatory fish in the world and is often regarded as one of the most formidable ocean predators. Today, because the species is protected in many regions due to its vulnerable status, any accidentally captured individuals must be released. In the past, however, large specimens were sometimes recorded. The exact size of the largest great white shark ever documented remains uncertain. In 1959, a shark reportedly caught near Australia was said to weigh about 1,200 kilograms and was once recognized as a world record by the IGFA. Another account from Cuba claimed a shark weighing 1,975 kilograms, though experts question that figure. Additional reports include a specimen measuring about 6.6 meters in 1985. Sightings suggest that even larger individuals may exist in the wild. The seahorse refers to 45 small fish species in the genus Hippocampus. The name comes from ancient Greek, reflecting their horse-like head and neck. They live primarily in saltwater worldwide, especially in sheltered habitats such as coral reefs and mangroves. Seahorses range in size from about 1.5 to 30 centimeters. They swim upright and move forward using their dorsal fin. In September 2015, Michael Bailey discovered an unusually large seahorse measuring 33 centimeters in a net off the coast of Poole, England. It was recorded as the largest documented specimen of its kind and was safely returned to the water. The kingfish, sometimes nicknamed the long-term grandpa, is a large, colorful fish resembling a sunfish. It is the only known fully warm-blooded fish able to regulate its entire body temperature regardless of its surroundings. In 2015, scientists confirmed that it generates heat through the movement of its fins. Because of this adaptation, it inhabits open ocean regions, including the Atlantic, parts of the Indian and Pacific Oceans, and the Mediterranean Sea, typically at depths between 100 and 400 meters. Most individuals grow to about 1.2 meters in length, though some can reach 2 meters. A rare large specimen was documented near St. Martin in the Caribbean, weighing about 80 kilograms. Additional sizable individuals have also been recorded. The blue marlin is a saltwater fish from the sailfish family, found in the Atlantic Ocean on both sides of the equator. It feeds mainly on crustaceans, squid, tuna, and other fish, using its long bill to slash through schools of prey. Capable of reaching speeds estimated between 80 and 120 kilometers per hour, it is considered one of the fastest fish in the ocean. Due to overfishing, blue marlin populations have declined, and fishing restrictions exist in several countries. The largest officially recorded specimen recognized by the International Game Fish Association was documented in Hawaii in 1982 and weighed about 636 kilograms. Reports of larger individuals exist, but they are not officially verified. The goldfish is a freshwater species and one of the most commonly kept pets worldwide, alongside dogs, cats, and birds. It was first selectively bred in China more than 1,000 years ago. Belonging to the carp family, goldfish today exist in many varieties that differ in size and color. In small aquariums, they typically grow to about 2 centimeters and rarely exceed 15 centimeters. In larger environments such as ponds or lakes, however, they can reach between 30 and 40 centimeters in length. In 2021, an unusually large goldfish weighing about 13.6 kilograms was documented in southern France. After being photographed, it was safely returned to the water. The whale shark is the largest living cartilaginous fish, and at lengths between 5.5 and 10 meters, the largest fish in the world. Weighing around 19,000 kilograms, it has been listed as endangered since 2005. Although protected in many areas, it is still sometimes captured in parts of the world. Whale sharks inhabit most of the world's oceans except the Mediterranean, and can live between 80 and 110 years. They feed by swimming with their mouths open and filtering plankton from the water. Due to their immense size, they have few natural predators. In 2012, a very large whale shark was reported off the coast of Pakistan. According to reports, The animal measured between 10 and 12 meters. The incident drew attention from conservation groups, highlighting ongoing concerns about the protection of this endangered species. Swordfish are large, powerful predatory fish with a long sword-like bill. They inhabit tropical regions of the Pacific and Indian Oceans, often at depths of about 500 meters. On average, they grow to around 3 meters in length. In addition to their vision, swordfish have specialized organs that warm their brain and eyes, improving their ability to detect prey. Capable of reaching speeds between 95 and 120 kilometers per hour, they are among the fastest fish in the ocean. In 1953, a notably large specimen measuring about 4.5 meters and weighing roughly 550 kilograms was documented off the coast of Iquique, Chile. The sharp-tailed mola resembles the ocean sunfish, but can be identified by its distinct tail-like projection. Also known as the sharp fin or point-laced sunfish, it is rarely sighted and remains less studied due to its shy nature. Like the hoodwinker sunfish, it can reach about 11 feet in length and weigh up to 2 tons. It feeds on a variety of marine organisms, including annelids and small fish. Unfortunately, the species is considered endangered, and conservationists warn that its population could decline further without stronger protections. Because of its rarity, the sharp-tailed mola has historically been consumed in some regions. However, due to conservation concerns, the European Union bans its sale and consumption, and international efforts continue to focus on protecting this unique species rather than promoting its harvest. The beluga sturgeon, the largest predatory sturgeon, can reach nearly 24 feet in length and weigh about 3,400 pounds. An ancient fish more than 200 million years old, it has armored plates, a shark-like tail, and barbels for finding prey, and lives in the Black, Caspian, and Adriatic seas. Though generally harmless to humans, it is critically endangered due to heavy exploitation for its highly prized caviar, which can sell for up to $3,500 per pound. With only 27 sturgeon species remaining, most of them threatened, the beluga's high value and ease of capture during spawning have driven severe population declines, leaving it highly vulnerable to extinction. The giant oceanic manta ray ranks among the 5 largest fish species in the world, reaching up to 23 feet in width and weighing about 3 tons. Like the reef manta ray, it has a flattened body with large triangular pectoral fins and a pair of cephalic fins at the front that help guide food into its mouth while swimming. Due to its size and speed, the oceanic manta ray has few natural predators, though large sharks such as tiger sharks and great hammerheads may occasionally prey on it. The species is listed as endangered by the International Union for Conservation of Nature, as its population has declined significantly over the past 20 years because of overfishing. Demand for its meat and use in traditional medicine continues to threaten the species. Despite conservation efforts, scientists actively monitor manta ray populations to improve protection and better understand their distribution. The sea tiger is the 4th largest fish species living today. It can attain a length of more than 16 feet and weigh around 3 tons. These sharks are widely distributed in the tropical and temperate oceans, with larger populations living around the central Pacific Ocean islands. Younger sharks have black tiger-like stripes on the body, hence the name. But these disappear as they grow older. They feed on a wide range of aquatic creatures, seabirds, other sharks, and actually even garbage. They are known to consume a variety of inedible man-made objects that have been found lingering in their stomachs. Tiger sharks rarely bite humans, but they are also reported to be the most responsible for attacks on humans after the bull shark. Tiger sharks usually roam waters where humans swim, so the chances of encountering one are greater than with deepwater shark species. Tiger sharks are big and strong, and can easily overpower a person in the water, no problem, and they have teeth designed for shearing their food, so the damage they inflict is devastating. So maybe don't swim too close to them. Sadly, the tiger shark is also threatened by human activities that make it a near-threatened species on the IUCN Red List. The ocean sunfish, or mola mola, is the largest living bony fish, weighing about 2.3 tons and reaching lengths of over 10 feet. Found in tropical and temperate oceans worldwide, it feeds mainly on jellyfish. Despite having few natural predators, it is considered vulnerable due to human threats, including entanglement in drift nets and ingestion of plastic debris that resembles its prey. Since 2002, The Ocean Sunfish Festival in Taiwan has increased demand for its meat. What was once largely discarded is now widely sold, and rising festival attendance has led to higher catches, with hundreds of tons landed in a single year, and catches valued at around $1 million. The sunfish's unusual, rounded body results from a back fin that never fully develops, forming a rudder-like structure called a clavus. Its name comes from the Latin word for millstone, reflecting its circular shape, silvery and rough-skinned. It often carries parasites and relies on smaller fish or seabirds to remove them, sometimes leaping high from the water to dislodge them. With fused beak-like teeth and a clumsy swimming style powered by large fins, the ocean sunfish remains one of the sea's most distinctive and remarkable species. If manta rays and tiger sharks seem large, consider the basking shark, which measures between 20 and 26 feet and can weigh up to 19 tons. This makes it the second largest living fish species in the world. It is a migratory species found in temperate oceans worldwide. Like the whale shark, it feeds exclusively on plankton and often swims near the surface, appearing to bask in the sun, which inspired its name. Basking sharks are generally passive and pose little threat to humans, though people are advised to keep a respectful distance due to their size and rough skin. Historically, the species was heavily targeted because of its slow swimming speed and once abundant populations. Today, the International Union for Conservation of Nature lists the basking shark as vulnerable. Decades of commercial fishing for meat, liver oil and fins significantly reduced its numbers. Although trade restrictions and protective measures now exist in many regions, continued conservation efforts remain important for the species' recovery. A dramatic image captured by David Edgar and featured by National Geographic shows a young humpback whale rising from the South Pacific near Tonga. Humpback whales inhabit oceans worldwide and migrate up to 16,000 miles each year. Adult males typically measure between 43 and 46 feet, while females range from 49 to 52 feet. The largest recorded individual reached 89 feet and weighed about 90 metric tons. With large throats adapted for engulfing prey such as krill, small fish, and occasionally large squid, humpbacks are powerful marine mammals. Once heavily hunted by the whaling industry, their population declined by about 90% before international protections were introduced in the 1970s. Of the 16 recognized populations worldwide, 4 remain endangered, and 1 is considered threatened. Since the ban on commercial whaling, however, global numbers have steadily recovered, with current estimates ranging from 120,000 to 150,000 whales. Halibut rank among the 10 largest fish species due to their impressive size and weight. They are born with one eye on each side of their head, but by about 6 months of age, one eye migrates to the other side. As a result, adult halibut swim sideways with both eyes positioned on the upper side of their bodies. A notably large halibut, documented off the coast of Norway in 2009, measured about 2.5 meters in length and weighed approximately 211 kilograms. Halibut are considered the largest flatfish species. While they typically average between 11 and 13.5 kilograms, some individuals have been recorded at weights exceeding 330 kilograms. Mola tecta, also known as the hoodwinker sunfish, was only recently identified, so little is known about its behavior. It was first recognized from a specimen found near Christchurch, New Zealand, in 2015. This species has a relatively sleek body shape and can grow to about 8 feet in length. Like other sunfish, it lacks a traditional tail fin. Instead, its rear edge forms a rounded structure called a clavus. Its skin shows countershading, appearing darker on the dorsal side and lighter underneath. Compared with some other mola species, the hoodwinker sunfish is thinner in profile but can still reach impressive sizes, weighing up to 2 tons. It inhabits oceanic waters of the southern hemisphere and feeds primarily on gelatinous organisms such as salps. What is the biggest fish you have ever caught? Let us know in the comments. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more videos, click on the screen and check out our channel. Thanks for watching, and see you next time. The Kola Super Deep Borehole was a Soviet scientific drilling project begun in 1970 on the Kola Peninsula in northwestern Russia, near the Norwegian border. Its goal was not to search for minerals or reach the Earth's core, but to study the composition and structure of the continental crust. After 2 decades of drilling, the borehole reached a record depth of 7.6 miles in 1989, making it the deepest artificial point on Earth. Researchers made several important discoveries, including microscopic fossils of ancient plankton more than 6 kilometers below the surface, unexpected amounts of water trapped in deep rock formations, and higher than anticipated temperatures, about 180 degrees Celsius at the deepest point, which eventually halted further drilling. The project was discontinued in the early 1990s, after the collapse of the Soviet Union due to financial difficulties. In 1989, a sensational story began circulating in Western media, claiming that scientists had heard human screams from the depths and had drilled into hell, but this tale was later confirmed to be an urban legend with no scientific basis. On the rocky Atlantic coast near Les Sables d'Olonne in Vendée, France, Le Puits d'Enfer, the Pit of Hell, is a dramatic natural fissure carved by wind and waves. Stretching about 30 meters along the shore, it drops toward the sea, where powerful tides surge through the crack, making it one of the region's most striking geological features. Locals have passed down legends about the site. Stories of a young man's pact with the devil, and storms echo with the cries of drowned sailors. Another belief claims that anything thrown into the crevice disappears forever. Its ominous reputation deepened in 1949, when children found a wicker trunk floating in the churning water. Inside was the bound body of Robert Thélier, a wealthy Parisian murdered by his housekeeper, André Faré, with an accomplice who helped dump the body there. Both were convicted under French law. Known locally as La Malle Sanglante du Puits d'Enfer, the case has been widely retold. Not every underground mystery hides terror. Sometimes it hides unimaginable fortune. In February 2013, a Northern California couple discovered what became known as the Saddle Ridge Hoard while walking their dog on their rural property in California's Gold Country. They noticed the edge of a rusty metal can protruding from the ground along a trail. Further digging revealed more cans buried at varying depths. In total, they recovered 8 corroded tins containing 1,427 U.S. gold coins, mostly $20 double eagles, dated between 1847 and 1894. Although the coins' combined face value was just under $28,000, their exceptional condition and rarity gave the hoard an estimated market value of about $10 million, making it the largest known buried treasure of gold coins ever found in the United States. Experts determined the coins were likely buried in the late 19th century, possibly as private savings hidden for safekeeping, but the true identity of the original owner remains unknown. Early speculation connected the hoard to historic mint thefts, but authorities found no evidence supporting that theory. The couple chose to remain anonymous to protect their privacy and property. Dean's Blue Hole, located near Clarence Town on Long Island in the Bahamas, is a dramatic marine sinkhole that reaches a depth of about 663 feet, making it one of the deepest known blue holes in the world, and currently ranked among the top 3 deepest. Formed during past ice ages when sea levels were lower, the limestone cavern developed through erosion and later flooded as the ocean rose. The circular opening measures roughly 82 to 115 feet in diameter at the surface, and widens significantly below, creating a vast underwater chamber. Its calm, sheltered waters and exceptional clarity, often exceeding 30 meters of visibility near the surface, have made it a world-renowned site for freediving competitions, including international depth records. Marine life such as reef fish, rays, and sea turtles can be found around the rim, though deeper sections are largely devoid of light and oxygen. Despite its serene appearance and popularity with swimmers and snorkelers in the shallow areas, the extreme depth and sudden drop-off require caution, particularly for inexperienced visitors. A network of 19th-century brick vaults and tunnels beneath Camden Town in North London. The Camden Catacombs were built as part of the area's railway and canal infrastructure during the Victorian industrial expansion. Despite their name, they were never burial chambers. Instead, they functioned as underground stables for horses and pit ponies that hauled railway wagons, as well as storage spaces and transit links between the North London railway yards and nearby Regent's Canal. An underground canal basin allowed boats to enter covered loading areas, protecting goods from weather and theft. Over time, changes in transport technology made the horse-drawn system obsolete, and parts of the network fell into disuse. Redevelopment in the 20th century led to sections being sealed, altered, or demolished. Now largely inaccessible and owned by railway authorities, the remaining vaults are closed to the public due to structural concerns and flood risk, though they remain an intriguing reminder of Camden's industrial past. On May 30, 2010, a dramatic ground collapse opened in Zone 2 of Guatemala City, shortly after the passage of Tropical Storm Agatha, which had brought days of torrential rain. The nearly circular shaft measured about 65 feet across and dropped an estimated 200 to 300 feet, swallowing a 3-story building and drawing global attention because of its sheer, almost perfectly cylindrical walls. Although widely described as a sinkhole, geologists later explained that it was not a typical karst collapse caused by dissolving limestone. Instead, Guatemala City sits on loosely compacted volcanic ash, pumice, and other tephra deposits from ancient eruptions. Water from heavy rains combined with leaking sewer and storm drain pipes eroded these soft materials through a process known as piping, gradually creating underground cavities that suddenly failed. The 2010 event followed a similar but larger collapse in 2007, highlighting long-standing infrastructure vulnerabilities. In response, authorities repaired damaged drainage systems, stabilized surrounding ground, and filled the cavity with engineered materials to prevent further collapse, though concerns about urban drainage and ground stability remain in some parts of the city. Not every collapse brings destruction. Sometimes when the earth opens up, it reveals a window into a world millions of years old. In 1978, teenager Gary Johnson discovered fossilized bones protruding from a ravine behind his family's home in Rancho Palos Verdes, Southern California. The remains were later identified as those of a rare baleen whale, dating back roughly 16 to 17 million years to the Miocene epoch, when much of the Los Angeles basin was submerged beneath a shallow sea. At the time of the discovery, a local museum determined that removing the massive fossil, embedded in hard rock on a steep slope, would be too complex and costly, so it remained in place for decades. Interest in the specimen resurfaced years later, and in 2014, the Natural History Museum of Los Angeles County, assisted by volunteers including search and rescue teams, successfully excavated the fossil. Paleontologists noted that relatively few baleen whale fossils from this period have been found in such good condition, making the specimen scientifically significant. The discovery highlights Southern California's rich marine fossil record, shaped by tectonic uplift and ancient ocean sediments that preserved prehistoric sea life now found far above today's coastline. The Shanxi Rift System in northern China is a major intracontinental rift zone that extends for more than 1,000 kilometers through Shanxi province and adjacent regions. Rather than a single fault, it is a chain of elongated basins bounded by active normal faults formed as the Earth's crust in the North China Craton gradually stretched and thinned. These faults cut through thick sedimentary layers and remain tectonically active, making the region one of the most seismically hazardous in China. Over the centuries, the broader North China seismic zone has produced several catastrophic earthquakes, including the 1303 Hongdong earthquake and the 1556 Shanxi earthquake, as well as major events in 1626, 1695, and 1815. Today, geological research continues to study the Shanxi Rift System to understand fault behavior better and reduce seismic risk for the millions of people living in this historically earthquake-prone region. The Darvaza gas crater, commonly called the Door to Hell, lies in Turkmenistan's vast Karakum Desert near the village of Darvaza. It formed in 1971 when Soviet geologists drilling for natural gas accidentally punctured an underground gas cavern, causing the ground beneath their rig to collapse into a large crater. To prevent the release of toxic methane, engineers ignited the escaping gas, expecting it to burn off within days or weeks. Instead, the fire has continued for more than 5 decades, fueled by the region's abundant natural gas reserves. The crater measures roughly 60 to 70 meters in diameter and about 30 meters deep, with hundreds of small flames flickering along its walls and floor. Over time, it has become one of Turkmenistan's most famous landmarks and a striking symbol of the country's energy resources. Although authorities have occasionally discussed extinguishing the fire due to environmental and economic concerns, the crater remains alight and continues to draw scientists and adventurous travelers alike. In July 2017, a massive iceberg known as A68 broke away from the Larsen C ice shelf on the eastern side of the Antarctic Peninsula, marking one of the largest calving events ever recorded in Antarctica. Covering about 5,800 square kilometers, roughly the size of a small country, the iceberg had been forming for years as a rift gradually widened across the ice shelf. Scientists from Project Midas and other research teams closely monitored the crack using satellite imagery, observing periods of rapid growth in the months leading up to the break. Although the calving itself did not directly raise sea levels, since the iceberg was already floating, the loss reduced the overall extent of the Larsen C ice shelf by about 12%, and raised concerns about the shelf's long-term stability. Ice shelves act as buttresses that slow the flow of inland glaciers into the ocean. If they weaken or collapse, glaciers behind them can accelerate, contributing to sea level rise. After drifting into the Weddell Sea, A68 gradually fragmented over several years, while researchers continued studying how the exposed seafloor ecosystem and surrounding ice responded to the dramatic change. The San Andreas Fault is a major right lateral strike-slip fault that forms the boundary between the Pacific Plate and the North American Plate, extending roughly 1,200 to 1,300 kilometers through California from the Salton Sea in the south to Cape Mendocino in the north. It was responsible for the devastating 1906 San Francisco earthquake, about magnitude 7.9, which ruptured nearly 480 kilometers of the fault and reshaped modern earthquake science. This fault line was the exciting backdrop for the well-known film San Andreas, starring Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson in 2015. The southern segment, near Los Angeles, has not experienced a major rupture since around the late 17th century, leading scientists to consider it a significant source of future seismic hazard. Unlike subduction zones such as those in Chile or Japan, the San Andreas does not typically generate magnitude 9 earthquakes, but it is capable of producing events around magnitude 8, which would still cause widespread damage in densely populated regions. Ongoing research, including GPS monitoring and paleoseismic trench studies, helps scientists better understand the fault's behavior and refine probability estimates for future earthquakes. Have you seen the movie San Andreas? What did you think? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to check out more interesting content in the top right corner of your screen. California isn't the only place facing geological threats. Berezniki, a city of over 150,000 people in Russia's Perm-Krai region, developed around large-scale potassium mining operations, faces a similar situation. Decades of mining in soluble salt layers have left extensive underground cavities that are prone to collapse. Starting around 2006, freshwater infiltrated abandoned mine workings, dissolving support pillars and causing dramatic sinkholes and ground subsidence beneath parts of the city. Some of these collapse features are hundreds of meters across, and subsidence continues to be a serious concern, prompting ongoing monitoring and localized relocations of residents. While local rail infrastructure has been affected by ground deformation, it is not the only railway link to Asia. Berezniki's mining enterprises are significant globally, but claims of producing 10% of the world's potassium from this city alone are not clearly supported by available production data. Efforts to manage subsidence continue, and relocation of affected residents has occurred, though exact figures differ among reports. The Trundholm chariot, discovered in 19 on the Danish island of Zee, one of the most remarkable artifacts of the Nordic dating to around BCE, consists of a horse, pulling disc mounted on 4 wheels. One side of the disc is covered in thin gold leaf, while the other remains plain bronze, a contrast widely interpreted as symbolizing the sun's journey across the sky by day and through the underworld by night. Crafted using advanced techniques such as lost wax casting and gilding, the chariot demonstrates the high level of metalworking skill achieved in prehistoric Scandinavia. Its preservation in the oxygen-poor environment of a peat bog kept its details intact for over 3 millennia. Scholars believe the artifact reflects Bronze Age cosmological beliefs in which the sun was drawn across the heavens by a divine horse, and its deliberate placement in a bog likely represents a ritual offering, part of a broader Northern European tradition of depositing valuable objects in wetlands for religious purposes. While some ancient objects symbolize the sun's journey across the sky, others claim to point toward treasures still hidden beneath our feet. The Copper Scroll, discovered in 1952 in Cave 3 near Qumran, is one of the most unusual texts among the Dead Sea Scrolls. Unlike the other scrolls, which were written on parchment or papyrus and contain religious writings, this scroll was made from thin sheets of copper alloy and lists what appear to be 60 hidden caches of gold and silver. Dating to the 1st century CE, it reads more like an inventory or treasure register than a sacred manuscript, detailing quantities of precious metals and their supposed burial locations. Because the metal had corroded over time, the scroll could not be unrolled and was instead carefully cut into strips in 1955 at the University of Manchester so scholars could read it. The immense amounts of treasure described, possibly totaling tons of gold and silver, have sparked debate, with some suggesting it refers to temple treasures hidden during the Roman invasion, while others believe it may be symbolic or exaggerated. No treasure has ever been found, and many of the locations remain unidentified. Today, the copper scroll is housed at the Jordan Archaeological Museum in Amman and remains one of the most enigmatic artifacts of the ancient world. The Mask of La Roche-Cotard is a small but intriguing artifact discovered in 1975 in a cave near the Loire River in central France, found in a Masterian layer associated with Neanderthal occupation and dated to roughly 75,000 years ago. The object consists of a flint core into which a fragment of bone was deliberately inserted. The arrangement creates a striking face-like appearance, with natural hollows resembling eye sockets, and the bone suggesting a nose or mouth. Some archaeologists argue that subtle modifications to the stone indicate intentional shaping, making it one of the earliest possible examples of symbolic or representational behavior by Neanderthals. Others caution that the resemblance to a human face may be coincidental, shaped partly by natural processes and the human tendency to recognize familiar patterns. Regardless of interpretation, the mask plays a central role in debates about Neanderthal cognition, contributing to growing evidence that they may have possessed more complex symbolic capacities than once believed. In 2016, archaeologists excavating the Must Farm site in Cambridgeshire, England, uncovered a remarkably well-preserved wooden wheel, dating to the Late Bronze Age, around 1100 to 800 BCE, roughly 3,000 years ago. Measuring about 1 meter in diameter, it is the earliest and most complete Bronze Age wheel ever found in Britain. The wheel was discovered in waterlogged sediments within the remains of a stilted settlement built over a river channel in the Fens, often dubbed Britain's Pompeii, because a catastrophic fire caused the roundhouses to collapse into the water, where mud and silt rapidly sealed and preserved organic materials. Alongside the wheel, archaeologists found intact wooden structures, textiles, pottery, tools, and even food remains, offering extraordinary insight into daily life. The wheel, made of carefully shaped oak with a central hub, was likely part of a cart or wagon. The nearby discovery of a horse skeleton supports this interpretation. The site appears to have been occupied only briefly before its destruction, and its exceptional preservation has transformed understanding of late Bronze Age craftsmanship, settlement life, and transport technology in prehistoric Britain. The Venus of Hohlefels, discovered in 2008 in Hohlefels Cave in southwestern Germany, is one of the oldest known examples of figurative art created by modern humans, dating to roughly 35,000 years ago during the Aurignacian period of the Upper Paleolithic. Carved from mammoth ivory and measuring about 6 centimeters in height, the figurine features exaggerated breasts, abdomen, and genitalia, placing it within the tradition of Paleolithic Venus figures. Instead of a clearly defined head, it has a carved perforation at the top, suggesting it may have been suspended or worn, though this remains an interpretation rather than a proven fact. The figurine was found in a stratified archaeological layer alongside stone tools and other ivory artifacts associated with early Homo sapiens in Europe. Hohlefels Cave has also yielded some of the world's oldest known musical instruments and animal figurines, highlighting a rich symbolic culture. While many researchers interpret Venus as evidence of early symbolic or possibly ritual expression, its precise meaning remains unknown. Its discovery significantly pushed back the timeline for complex human figurative art in Europe, underscoring the cognitive and artistic sophistication of early modern humans. Now, let's fast forward to a civilization that mastered the art of building entire worlds underground. Baiae, located on the Bay of Naples within the volcanically active Campi Flegrei region, was one of the most luxurious resort towns of the Roman world. Favored by Rome's elite during the late Republic and early Empire, it was famous for its grand villas, terraced gardens, and expansive thermal bath complexes that ingeniously harnessed natural geothermal heat from the surrounding volcanic landscape. Rather than a single hypogeum, Baiae contains a network of semi-subterranean and underground chambers carved into soft volcanic tufa, designed to channel hot mineral waters and steam for bathing. Among the most impressive structures is the so-called Temple of Mercury, a vast circular domed hall from the 1st century BCE, one of the earliest surviving examples of large-scale Roman concrete dome construction. Over centuries, volcanic bradyseism caused parts of the ancient city to sink, leaving many villas and streets submerged and now preserved in an underwater archaeological park. The remaining thermal complexes on land offer rare insight into Roman engineering, luxury culture, and the creative integration of architecture with a dynamic geological environment. Deep within the old temple at Chavín de Huántar in the Peruvian Andes stands the Lanzón monolith, the central religious icon of the Chavin culture, which flourished between roughly 900 and 200 BCE. Carved from a single block of white granite and measuring about 4.5 meters in total length, the sculpture is embedded between the floor and ceiling of a narrow underground gallery. Its name, Lanzon, Great Lance, refers to its elongated, spear-like shape. The figure depicts a powerful anthropomorphic deity with fanged teeth, clawed hands, and hair rendered as writhing serpents, features characteristic of Chavin art and often associated with jaguar and other supernatural animal imagery. The monolith is positioned at the intersection of several internal corridors, suggesting it was meant to be encountered in a controlled ritual setting within the temple's labyrinthine passageways. Chavin architecture also includes sophisticated drainage canals that may have amplified sound during ceremonies, contributing to a dramatic sensory experience. Widely interpreted as representing a transformative or shamanic deity, the Lanzon remains one of the most significant monuments of early Andean civilization, offering insight into religious beliefs that long predate the Inca Empire. Beneath oceans, deserts, ice shelves, and modern cities, the Earth holds stories spanning billions of years, stories of cosmic collisions, ancient seas, shifting continents, and human ambition. Which of these discoveries surprised you the most? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss our upcoming journeys. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.